But there is this one part of The Color Purple that I was being brought to. And it was the part at the dinner table on Thanksgiving where Suge tells Mr. that she was leaving. She was taking Silly with her. And Mr. wasn't having it. Well, he had a problem with it. Let's say that. But that wasn't the part. The part was when Silly was, saying her grievances and what, issues she had within the home. And the part with Harpo was the part that stuck out for me. And she said, if you wasn't trying to rule over Sophia, the white folks wouldn't have never got her. And with that part, I was like pondering, like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I looked at the scene. You see how Mr. was acting. You see how his father was acting. And then Harpo. I don't know the father's name. And this is for masculines. I think this part is for the masculines. Or there's a specific person that this message is for. I don't know. But there is a generation of men that have been taught by other generation of men, who was taught by other generation of men to treat women as objects, control them. They only meant to be servants, to be subservient to men. And this way of thinking is toxic as hell. 111 on the timer. It's toxic. And with that, I feel and I believe that there is a shift, hopefully so, of men that is going to start healing generational trauma when it comes to how they perceive women, how they was taught by the men of their family to treat women. And this may not be verbal. They may not was told these things like you should do this to a woman, do that to a woman. But this is what they've been shown through the, through the years. Their father, their uncles, their grandfathers, their, whatever. But the specific message for that is, if you wasn't trying to rule over Sophia, the white folks would have never got her. Somebody's controlling ass ways could have made somebody flip the fuck out. As they say, crash out. But I mean, like, mentally. Somebody's controlling ways have made somebody, push somebody to the edge. Because I watched the scene, that part where Sophia was interacting with Miss Millie. Okay, she was interacting with Miss Millie. Well, Miss Millie was interacting with her. And she just snapped on her. She just had, I think she just was burnt out. She had enough. She was done. And yeah, you see how that ended. But that message is specifically for men who needs or is going through this release of a way of thinking when it comes to women. Okay, so I move forward to the very, very last scene of The Color Purple. And this is a beautiful moment. So those who have been on a healing journey, spiritual journey for quite some time, you're about to come into a full circle moment. Okay, so I'm going to read some things that I wrote down. some notes that I took. And this is a spiritual breakdown for the final scene of Color Purple. And it may resonate in some kind of way, shape, or form for you. And like I said, this can be for male or female, okay? There's no gender to this. No one specifically connected. This is a collective message. All right, so it was given to me personally, and then I felt the need that I am supposed to give it to the collective as well. So here we go. So you know the final scene in The Color Purple when Celie finally reunites with her sister Nettie and her children. That moment isn't just a family reunion, it's a spiritual homecoming. Throughout the story, Celie goes through abuse, loneliness and rejection. Her voice is stripped away, her light is dim, she's told she's nothing, and for a long time she believes it. But the truth is, she was never broken, she was becoming. Spiritually, that last scene represents the soul returning to wholeness. If you see the thumbnail in this on my page, zoom in. Just full circle. The Celie we see at the end isn't the same woman from the beginning. She's resurrected. She's come home to herself. The home that was once filled with pain now holds peace and laughter. The table where silence lived is now filled with love. It's the perfect symbol of divine restoration. When everything you thought you lost comes back to you. Not the same, but healed. Nettie, Celie's sister, represents faith. The quiet, unseen part of your spirit that keeps praying for you when you stop praying for yourself. When Celie and Nettie embrace, it's the reunion of body and spirit, faith and manifestation. It's the soul saying, I never left you. And the children, they symbolize the healing of generations. The bloodline is restored. The curse is broken. Celie's story shows us that when one woman heals, generations are set free. You can also see that moment as Celie's realization of God within. Remember when Shug Avery said God is inside you and inside everybody else. By the end, Celie is living that truth. She doesn't need a preacher, a church, or a savior to validate her holiness. Her peace, her joy, her freedom, that is her connection to God. And notice the color purple in the final scenes. The flowers blooming in the background. That color represents spiritual awakening. It's Celie finally seeing the beauty in life again. The divine in the everyday. She once said she thought God was mean, distant, but now she can see God is everything. That's what self-love and healing really is. Coming back home to your own soul. You realize that nothing you went through was wasted. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every lonely night, it all pushes you towards awakening. Celie's story teaches that no matter how broken you feel, your spirit never dies. When you finally forgive, release, and open your heart, that's when everything you thought you lost returns. And you see that you never really lost anything. You were simply being led back to yourself, back to wholeness. The pathway to wholeness. So, some of you could be starting this journey. And you will get through it. Believe me. You may have a lot of lonely nights. You may cry a lot. You know, you may go through let's just say this. There's going to be some bumps. You're not going to have everything together. You don't know everything. You're going to be confused about a lot of things. But on a personal note, when I first started my journey, And I've always been like spiritual, okay? It ain't new to me. But I remember talking to a medium, and she was telling me that I was on a twin flame journey. And I don't really want to get into that too much, but if you ever hear that you're on this journey, don't look at my nails, they jacked up. If you hear that you're on that journey, understand that the journey is not about another person. Let me emphasize that. The journey is not about another person. You know, I feel a little bit of way about it because a person will get so caught up in the fairy tale or, oh, the twin flame. No, honey. You need to come whole with yourself. You need to learn how to be whole with you before you can be whole with somebody else. Or put that person need to be whole on their own, and you need to learn to be whole on your own as well. That's what the journey is about. That's if you feel you on a twin flame journey. It ain't about the other person. It's about you, boo. Now, I feel my personal journey is everything. Like, the twin flame, who you think your twin flame is ain't who your twin flame is. But that's a whole nother story. But what I will say is, it's all about you becoming whole within yourself. Learning to love every piece of yourself, flaws and all. And healing everything that comes with you. Your past. You're not your past, but you're healing the traumas of the past. Whoever's connected to that trauma. Family, lovers, whatever. So, yeah. Divine restoration, ancestral healing, and completion. So congratulations to those who have entered the timeline of crossing that finish line of ancestral healing. You're still on the journey, but you completed one part of it, okay? And those who starting it, you got this. You know, it ain't easy. Like I said, you're going to go have bouts of all kind of emotion, crying, still trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do and just a whole lot. And you'll get there. You'll figure it out. And that's the message. And I hope that finds you and give you a little peace and clarity that you're on the right path. All right? Bye.